What is the greatest upset in sports history? This nobody golfer named Jean Van de Velde makes it to the 1999 Open Championship, a very prestigious golf tournament where the best golfers compete. Jean plays the best golf of his life that weekend and is winning by 3 strokes on the 72nd of 72 holes for the tournament. He could have pulled out his wedge and played safe for a guaranteed win, but instead pulls out his driver and shanks the shot, followed by additional high-risk shots that failed miserably. If you're not a golfer, that's like having the chance to win $1 million by simply walking to and giving someone a high five, but you instead choose to try and do it while sprinting and doing a backflip. He barely makes his 6th shot, goes into overtime and loses the round. Average Joes were 50-1 underdogs versus Globo Gym. Never forget. I won't say it's the greatest upset in sports history, but since Steve Bradbury is mentioned and this is basically pulling a Bradbury at the time. Cliff Young. More than every year, Australia hosts 543.7 mile, 875 kilometer endurance racing from Sydney to Melbourne. It is considered among the world's most grueling ultra marathons. The race takes 5 days to complete and is normally only attempted by world-class athletes who train specially for the event. More than in 1983, a man named Cliff Young showed up at the start of this race. Cliff was 61 years old and wore overalls and work boots. To everyone's shock, Cliff wasn't a spectator. He picked up his race number and joined the other runners. More than all of the professional athletes knew that it took about 5 days to finish the race. In order to compete, one had to run about 18 hours a day and sleep the remaining 6 hours. More than Cliff kept running. Each night he came a little closer to the leading pack. By the final night, he had surpassed all of the young, world-class athletes. He was the first competitor to cross the finish line and he set a new course record. More than when Cliff was awarded the winning prize of $10,000. He said he didn't know there was a prize and insisted that he did not enter for the money. He ended up giving all of his winnings to several other runners. That endeared him to all of Australia. Leicester City winning the Premier League in 2016. 16 seed UMBC beating number 1 Virginia. Only time it's ever happened. 7-1. Edit. Yes, I'm aware it wasn't a true upset. I don't need 100 more replies saying that. Just enjoy the moment. What about Stephen Bradbury lucking his way into the gold medal in the 1000 meter speed skating event at the 2002 Winter Olympics? Dude came 3rd in the quarterfinals with the top 2 going to the semis. But the 2nd place guy got disqualified, so he made it. Then in the semis he was in dead last, but all his opponents fell over, allowing him to take the lead and finish first, advancing to the finals. Then in that race he had the exact same situation as the semis, with all his opponents falling over and allowing him to cross the line in first place. Apparently that was his plan all along, since he didn't think he stood a chance of winning. But the guy was probably still amazed that it actually worked. Talk about an underdog story. Miracle on ice. Soccer. Denmark winning the European Cup in 1992. Denmark was not even qualified and got in because Yugoslavia ceased to exist. Then Denmark came to Sweden in the last minute-ish and went through the tournament and finished up beating both of the massive favorites in the final 2 matches. Holland in the semi-finals and Germany in the final. Golf. Francis Ouimet. US Open 1913. There are movies about this guy, a normal caddy who qualified at a very young age and beat the 2 titans of the era from Britain and won on his home turf. 1950 World Cup Final. Brazil. At home. With a record 200k supporters in the stands, only needed a tie to win it all in their home country that spent lots of time and money to host it. They were clear favorites by winning all their games and scoring a record-setting 40+ goals. They had already planned celebrations, songs, and parades and were ready for it. But on the other side was Uruguay. Uruguay with the tiny population but people with an immense heart for the game. Uruguay came from behind 0-1 to win it 2-1 in the greatest upset of all time. So much so that they didn't even have the trophy with Uruguay's name ready to present. Even after the fact, it seemed surreal to Uruguay, the captain, Obdulio Varela, spent the afternoon in a state of shock in a bar in Rio consoling the Brazilians. From this point forward, history changed for Brazil. The players were shunned by the entire population, especially the goalkeeper. The Maracanã Stadium was painted sky blue, honoring the promise when the stadium was constructed that the winner of the tournament's colors would adorn the new stadium. And it's still there today. The iconic Brazilian yellow jerseys that you see today were not always like that. Up until 1950 they were white. But so much shame was brought upon this team in 1950 that a competition was done after 1950 to redesign a new jersey for the team. That's what you see today. Not the pre-1950 white jersey, but rather the post-traumatic design of the greatest upset in sports history. Edit. Lots of people seem to have learned from this, so I'm really glad. As a side note, a lot of people have talked about Leicester in 2016. I actually think there's another instance similar to it that may be even bigger. Defensa winning the Uruguayan League in 1976. First team to win it, outside of the typical two-Pierrot and Nacional, which that only happened about 50 years after the league was professionalized. The league was heavily skewed in their favor, always has been, with rigged matches, referees, no video replays or even media that went to other matches that didn't have them playing in it. So the feat accomplished by Defensa in 1976 was unreal and near impossible due to the circumstances and huge economic and social differences between those two clubs and the rest of the league's clubs. In the final game of the season, the players knew they wanted to symbolize this end of a tyranny of the two giants. So they did the classic victory lap of honor, but backwards, clockwise, challenging the traditional rivals and statutes. It also was a political symbolism due to the existing dictatorship that was present in the country's government. Japan 34 South Africa 32 2015 rugby match. Edit. Maybe Greece winning the Euro back in 2004. Remember that time Bobby Borcher showed up at halftime and the Mud Dogs won the Bourbon Bowl? Rulon Gardner beating Alexander Karelin in wrestling. Karelin was 13 years undefeated and 6 years without giving up a point when he lost. He is considered the most dominant athlete in history. Edit. Changing Rulon Gardner to Rulon Gardner. Stupid autocorrect. Edit. Corrected dominate to dominant. Autocorrect struck again. Leicester City winning the Premier League a few years ago. They were given 5,000 to 1 odds, and only escaped relegation the previous year by nothing short of a miracle. The thing that makes this the greatest upset is it happened over the course of an entire season. 38 games, rather than just one game or a series. We are unlikely to see anything in sports even close to as profound as their title win again. It's also easy to forget that had Leicester not won the title that year, it likely would have been Tottenham, who haven't won the title since 1962. An absolutely insane year in the Premier League. England losing a 13 colony lead. Toon Squad 78, Monsters 77. Cleveland winning the NBA after being down 3-1 to the best regular season team of all time. Or the Mavs winning it all in 2011, beating several contenders on their way. It's one of those two for the NBA, I think. 1980 Olympics, US over USSR. The more you know about how good the Russians were and how inexperienced the Americans were, the more incredible it gets. Appalachian State over Michigan at the Big House in 2007. First ever game to be played on the Big Ten Network. No one has ever seen a top 5 team lose to a small DI school. This game still haunts my Michigan friends. Soderling defeating Nadal at the 2009 French Open. The 13-6 NY Giants versus the 18-0 Patriots in the Super Bowl. Throw on top of that one of the most amazing catches ever in football history in one of the most crucial moments of the game. Pretty epic. Edit. Thank you for my first gold. Leicester City PL title. Soccer. Miracle on ice. Olympic hockey. Giants over Patriots. NFL. UMBC over Uva. CBB. Appalachian State over Michigan. CFB. Buster Douglas KOs Mike Tyson. Boxing. Leon Spinks defeats Muhammad Ali. Boxing. Holly Holm KOs Ronda Rousey. MMA. Rulon Gardner defeats Alexander Karelin. Olympic wrestling. Muhammad Ali defeats Sonny Liston. Boxing. Others to mention: Warriors over Mavericks, NBA 2007, Miss Street over UConn, Women's Basketball, Chaminade over Uva, CBB 1982, Jets over Colts, NFL 1969. When Ireland won the Quidditch World Cup, but Crumb caught the snitch. Jenson Button winning the 2009 Formula 1 championship with Brawn GP, who won the Constructors' World Championship in the same season. 2004 ALCS, the Red Sox losing the first 3 games and facing elimination, then winning 4 in a row to beat the Yankees 4-3. I believe they were the first team to ever pull this off. I'm from Boston, but I was away at college at the time, and was watching with a group of other Red Sox fans sympathizers. It was all set to go well. Wait till next season, as Red Sox fans had for 86 years, and endure the mockery of the Yankees fans on my dorm floor. And then out of nowhere we won game 4, in extra innings. Mind you, I remember seeing a guy on the screen at Fenway, after the victory, chanting 3 more times, 3 more times, and envying his optimism because, while it was nice not to be swept, the Sox couldn't possibly pull that off. And then they won game 5, and then game 6, and then took such a huge ducking lead in game 7 that I thought it was either a foregone conclusion or another cruel trick the universe was about to play on us. Duck you, Aaron Boone. But they did it. I struggle to recall any time in my life when I felt that level of building excitement, that impossible hope, that realization that something historic, in a good way, was happening. The World Series and ultimate victory against the Cardinals, ending the curse after 86 years, felt more like an afterthought compared to that. Bunch of random farmers take down the world's premier team, proceed to become the best team in the world in multiple sports. 1776. Colorized. Seriously, the miracle on ice. No other team has been so under-equipped and won. That time when a kid in my Cub Scout troop just glued creepy crawlers to his otherwise untouched Pinewood Derby car and still got 5th place. 2007 Patriots losing out on a perfect season in the Super Bowl to the Giants. That one crushed me. John Daly winning the 1991 PGA Championship. He had missed 11 out of 23 cuts, was 9th alternate but had a large number of players withdraw from the championship. Had to drive overnight from Memphis to Carmel, Indiana without knowing if he would be able to play. Just happened to replace someone with an afternoon tea time so that he could get some sleep before his round. Had never even seen Crooked Stick Country Club before his first round, and had to use someone else's caddy. Since everyone said miracle on ice, I'm gonna throw Super Bowl III into consideration. If the Jets don't win that game, the Super Bowl might not exist. The first 2 Super Bowls were blowouts, and the talent gap between the AFL and NFL was so large that the NFL threatened to call off the merger. The Jets were underdogs by close to 3 touchdowns against an NFL team that was considered unstoppable in the Baltimore Colts. Across their last 16 games, they were 15-1, and were coming off of a 34-0 victory in the NFL Championship. Nobody gave the Jets of the Mickey Mouse League a shot. I can't believe that's not listed yet. Iceland, a country of 300,000 people with a part-time national team, defeated England in the final stages of Euro 2016. What a game. 2016 NBA Finals. LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers were down 3-1 in a best-of-7 to the Golden State Warriors. The 2016 Warriors set the record for most wins ever in an NBA season with their 73-9 record, and their superstar player Steph Curry became the first unanimous MVP in NBA history. Without home court advantage, the Cavaliers won the next 3 straight to win in Game 7. That Game 7 ending with LeBron James getting a game-saving block in the final minute and Kyrie Irving hitting the go-ahead 3 to give them the lead. It was Cleveland's first NBA Finals win ever. 1983 America's Cup broke a 132-year undefeated streak. Paris Saint-Germain not making it through the Champions League round of 16 a single time in 5 years despite spending over $1 billion, completing the most expensive signing ever. The number 1 seeded Virginia Cavaliers losing to the number 16 seeded UMBC Retrievers in the 2018 NCAA basketball tournament. The first time in history a 16 has beaten a 1. Being from Indiana, I would have to consider Milan beating Muncie for the state basketball championship in the mid-50s one of the best. It's what the movie Hoosiers was based on. Liverpool going from 3 behind to win the CL in 2005 is up there. Also the 1999 CL final, Zidane headbutt, Leicester Premiership win, Aguero. These are all football, though, soccer. Michael Bisping beating Luke Rockhold, GSP losing to Matt Serra. Boise State upsetting Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl. Fresno State baseball beating Georgia for the NCAA baseball championship. Edit, Georgia not GT. NASCAR, Derek Cope winning the 1990 Daytona 500, unknown on the East Coast. Pit strategy kept him in the 2.5 and was second at the white flag to Dale Earnhardt. Earnhardt had a tire go flat in turn 3 and Cope won. Auburn's kick 6 against Bama. Boise State over OU in the Fiesta Bowl always sticks with me just because it was so ducking miraculous. I mean, who the hell ties the game on a hook and ladder and proceeds to win it with a Statue of Liberty on a 2-point conversion? That would have lost them the game had they not converted. Shanghai Dragons actually winning. I would have to say Bud Bowl III, where Bud Light, led by star QB Bud Dry, beat Budweiser for the first time. Brock Lesnar beating The Undertaker. The Vikings were 2 minutes away from going to the Super Bowl when our kicker, who hadn't missed all year, shanked a field goal, and we lost in overtime. Ardham. My freshman year, I scored our high school's first ever soccer goal. Not only was it against the best team in our league, it was also on our own goal. Game 7 2013 Stanley Cup Playoffs Leafs vs Bruins. It's been pretty much the same damn story every year since then. This year is time to finally stop that cycle. Cloud9 winning Boston Major 2018. 1992. The Hawks defeated by the Mighty Ducks. Has to be India winning the Cricket World Cup against favourites West Indies in 1983 Cricket World Cup at Lord's, England. Tyson losing to Buster Douglas. Still, a little hair trigger on the video game. Germany 7-1 Brazil. Best game ever. It seems like half the commenters here don't know what an upset is. Rulon Gardner defeating Alessandro Carolin in the 2000 Sydney Olympic Games Greco-Roman Wrestling. Carolin went 13 years without losing a match. At the highest level, he won world level titles from 1988 to 1999. He had never even given up a point in the 6 years leading up to the loss to Gardner. Gardner had never finished higher than 5th and had lost 5-0 to Carolin before. People were surprised he even made the finals. Gardner won 1-0 and made history. Probably when the Horse upset defeated the Great Man-O-War in 1919. Horse. Even though the phrase was used before this race, it definitely helped popularize pulling an upset. For me the biggest upset though was in 2010 when I saw Blame beat Zenyatta at the Breeders' Cup. She was an amazing horse, the first female to win the Breeders' Cup Classic, and was undefeated in all her 19 starts before that where she would dominate the field. Here is a video of that race where you see her lose by a nose, and here is a montage of all her wins so you can see how impressive of a horse she was. Another great horse racing upset was Mine That Bird, who was the long shot winner of the 2009 Kentucky Derby at 50-1 odds. The win was pretty spectacular, with him coming from far behind, sneaking in up the rail and running down the rest horses for an impressive win. Someone made me watch a hockey game once. That made me pretty upset. Michael Jordan leading the Toon squad to victory over the Monstars. Argentina's basketball team winning gold over USA in the 04 Olympics. Outside of the ridiculous history of golds for Team USA, that team was stacked, and Argentina just had Manu Ginobili. Huge upset. According to ESPN, MSU over Duke this past Sunday SMH. The Nika riot of 532 in Constantinople. The fans of the two most popular chariot racing teams, the Greens and the Blues, rioted after a race due to a strong collective anger towards the Emperor Justinian. When it was over, half the city was destroyed and thousands were dead. All of the correct answers are already here, so I'll just offer my own personal favorite, the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. From week 1 all the way through to the fourth quarter of the SB, the narrative was these guys ducking suck despite the fact that they demolished almost everybody they played. Despite being the top seed, they were playoff underdogs in their own house, twice, even after absolutely destroying their highly favored opponent in the NFC CG. They were still considered underdogs, and then they ended up beating the most formidable dynasty of the 21st century with their second year coach and their backup under center. I'm biased, of course, but whatever. To me personally, was seeing Jordan Spieth bottle it at the 12th at Augusta and Danny Willett take the win. But I'm a golf fan. Maybe Leicester winning the league. The Falcons led the Patriots 3-28. When Crum got the snitch, but Ireland won the cup. Villanova over Georgetown, 1985 NCAA title game. Buster Douglas knocking out Tyson. He was like a 42-1 underdog. Vettel bringing the Toro Rosso to pole and the win in the 2008 Italian Grand Prix. Now sure, is he one of the best drivers to ever exist? Sure, but was that car the best on the grid? Not by a country mile. It was a freakishly good drive, and likely never to happen again for that team. Ash losing the Pokemon League every year. Watching the Falcons get obliterated in the last quarter of the Super Bowl against the Patriots. Barcelona overturning a 4-0 away defeat at Paris to come back 6-1 at home at the Camp Nou. Didn't upset me though. Barca fan here. 1994 Denver Nuggets over the top seeded Sonics. I'm not a Nuggets fan, but that was fun to watch. The Buffalo Bills never winning a Super Bowl, then making it to the Super Bowl 2 years in a row and losing both times to the Cowboys, once to a missed field goal. Why Buffalo? Why? Edit. I completely forgot they made it 4 years in a row. The 2 losses to the Cowboys are the ones burned into my memory. Game 6 of the 2011 World Series. Jesse Owens 4 gold medals in the 1936 Olympics in Berlin. Humiliated Hitler and his supposed race of supermen. The sad thing about the Ballon d'Or award is that it will give future generations the illusion that Cristiano Ronaldo was as good, or nearly as good, as Leo Messi. Personally, the injury at Momo in the 2017 Marble Olympics, but the red number 3 scandal probably had a bigger impact overall.